Hi! In our last task, we completed a time sampling to gain a better idea of how we spend our time in order to help improve our program delivery. Another way for us as school counselors to effectively manage our time is to intentionally schedule the work we do. This is done through the use of calendars. By intentionally planning and scheduling our work, similar to how a counselor working in an agency or a clinic setting schedules their clients, meetings, and appointments, it's harder for others to pull us into unscheduled non-counseling related activities. School counselors develop and publish an annual calendar that presents a schedule of all classroom and group activities, including those identified in both of your annual student outcome goals and listed in your classroom and group mindsets and behavior action plan and your Closing the Gap action plan. This annual calendar can be shared on your school website, outside of your office, in school newsletters, and through any other communications you have with stakeholders. School counselors also use weekly calendars. These include all counselor and counseling program activities for the week. These are also shared with stakeholders, making sure any student identification information is removed to protect confidentiality. Shareable annual and weekly calendars of school counseling activities and events don't just help keep us organized, but also help inform students, parents, teachers, and administrators of what, when, and where the school counseling activities, including curriculum delivery, will take place. Think of your calendars as communication tools. They communicate to stakeholders who may not always understand or know the role of a school counselor, what exactly it is you do, and your role within the school building. While teachers' roles and schedules are known by everyone, which class periods they teach, when they have a prep period, for example, there's often a lack of understanding of what school counselors do all day. Weekly calendars help you plan your work by intentionally scheduling your work in advance. They are also working documents that you can continue to adjust throughout the week as tasks and meetings, etc., are added or canceled. Keep in mind, however, one of the main purposes of having a weekly calendar is to plan your week in advance so that the work you need to complete as part of your comprehensive counseling program, such as classroom lessons, small groups, counseling and advising with individual students, and presentations, is intentionally scheduled or booked in advance, making it harder for other non-counseling tasks and assignments to supersede these activities. For the weekly calendar, you can use whatever calendar system or tool you wish. If you plan to apply for RAMP, you just want to make sure you include on your calendar the audience, topic, delivery type, and start or stop time, or the length, in each of your entries. For RAMP, ASCA just requires a 1-week calendar sample from the fall and a 1-week calendar sample from the spring. If you're completing our summit level of RAMP Ready and you plan to apply for RAMP, you can actually use our time sampling and analysis tool to generate a weekly calendar sample that you can then submit with your RAMP application. We'll discuss this more in the summit level modules next school year. Annual calendars are working documents that you'll continue to adjust and update as things change. In this task, you'll begin by filling in your annual calendar for next year, but you'll most likely want to update it and make changes throughout next school year. For planning purposes at this time, you'll start an annual calendar for next school year by adding in the classroom lessons, large group presentations, and small groups that you've already identified in your goals for next year, and your Mindsets and Behavior Action Plan and your Closing the Gap Action Plan. You can also add any major activities or events that you already know will be on the counseling program schedule, such as back to school nights, FAFSA information nights, or any other regularly occurring meetings, committees that you might serve on. When you begin the task of working on your annual calendar, you'll first see all of the lessons and groups you included on your Mindsets and Behaviors Action Plan, and the activities that you listed in your Closing the Gap Action Plan. Note that each list has a scroll bar on the side if your list is longer than the box. Be sure to scroll down to see all of the activities that are listed in each box. You'll also see a box for new activities. These will be other activities besides your lessons, groups, and indirect activities from your Mindsets and Behavior Action Plan and the Closing the Gap Action Plan, which you can begin adding here to your calendar for next year. We'll start with the first box, the lessons and groups from your Mindsets and Behaviors Action Plan. Click on the first activity listed. A pop-up box will appear. Begin filling out the information for this particular activity and when you want it scheduled on your annual calendar. If you're not sure of a particular date, you can select a month or more than 1 month. These can all be changed later if your schedule changes. Remember, this is a working document, so for right now, you're just planning for next school year. For the activities from your Mindsets and Behavior Action Plan, you'll notice that the rest of the information has been automatically filled in for you. Once you've entered the information for when the activity will take place, you can close the pop-up window by clicking the X in the right upper corner, or simply click outside the pop-up box. You should now see your activity added to your calendar. Continue scheduling the rest of the activities from your Mindsets and Behaviors Action Plan. Next, you'll schedule each of the activities from your Closing the Gap action plan. Again, if you're not sure of a particular date, you can select a month or more than 1 month. These can all be changed later if your schedule changes. Again, a pop-up box will appear. Begin filling out the information for this particular activity and when you want it scheduled on your annual calendar. Once you've entered the information for when the activity will take place, you can close the pop-up window by clicking the X in the upper right corner or simply clicking outside of the pop-up box. Continue scheduling each of the activities from your Closing the Gap action plan list. Next, you can begin adding new activities. These are the other activities besides your lessons, groups, and indirect activities from your Mindsets and Behavior Action Plan and your Closing the Gap action plan that you already know will be on the counseling program schedule, such as back-to-school nights, college information sessions, etc., as well as any recurring activities, such as committees or meetings that meet regularly. Again, a pop-up window will appear where you can enter information about the activity you wish to add. Enter the name or type of activity and indicate whether it's a direct student service, indirect student service, or related to managing your program. Then select the date or dates the activity takes place. If it's recurring or something that happens most days, such as office hours for advising, as seen in this example, you can select nearly every day. You'll also enter whether or not this is a new activity to help achieve your Closing the Gap goal, and if it's a classroom lesson or group activity. If these newly added activities are classroom lessons or presentations or groups, or will be part of your Closing the Gap goal, and they aren't already on your action plans for next year, you'll select either one of these options here and then will be prompted to add these new activities to your action plan, where they will automatically appear. If you're not sure when a newly added activity will take place, you don't need to select a particular time right now. The activity will simply be saved to your list of new activities to help you remember it. You can always go back and schedule it once you know when it'll take place. You can always return to your annual calendar with the Quick Access blue button located in the module's main page. It will take you to your calendar so that you can continue to add and make changes at any point. Finally, you'll want to start thinking about how you can share your annual and weekly calendars with stakeholders. For example, you might post your annual calendar or even your weekly calendars on your school counseling webpage. You might post your weekly calendar, minus specific student information, outside of your office every week. You might send your annual calendar that includes your classroom lessons and small groups to teachers at the start of the school year or every grading period. The more you can share the counseling program's calendars with stakeholders, the greater the opportunity there will be for improving stakeholders' understanding of your role and the work of the school counseling program. So for now, your task to complete is to begin drafting an annual calendar for the school counseling program by filling in activities, meetings, and any other events for next school year. Thanks for watching. This is the end of Module 3. You'll now have action plans and a calendar for your counseling program for next school year. As always, we're available for individual support through email, phone, text, or online with Zoom. If you need support, just reach out by calling or texting or emailing me at kelly@inspiresuccess.org.